Hello, everyone. This is Mohammed Akif with Akif CPA, and today we'll be discussing a second tax trap for Canadians with US LLC on E2 and L1 visa. This is a series of our 8 blocks. This is the second of them, and we're discussing why a Canadian with a ULC and that is on E2 or L1 visa or is looking to get E2 and L1 visa, why that's a problem, and then why it becomes a tax trap. I'll tell you why this happens and the solution to that tax trap. All right. So without any further ado, let's get into the blog. If you are looking to move or you're looking to get a business in the US, you want to start a business in the US, you want to get an E2 or L1 visa, talk to us before you do it so you can understand how both sides work, how the taxes work, what entity is best for you, the tax planning, the departure tax, you name it, we can help you. info@akifcpa.com, info@akifcpa.com. Email us and we'll gladly respond. Let me share my screen in terms of what I am so you can see what I'm seeing. All right, let's see. Perfect. So this is the second tax trap that we'll be talking about. This is called the 25,000 IRS penalty for Canadians with ULC that don't know about. And I'll tell you why this happens. This happens because of the advisor blind spot. And what do we mean by the advisor blind spot? This is something that you get in touch with when you are getting your E2 done or L1 done. You're talking to the US lawyer, you're talking to the US accountant, you're talking to the Canadian accountant, and where each of them lacks. And then the lackness creates this trap. It's not that they are misleading you, it's just that they're not aware of. We'll talk what exactly is going on with each of them, why this creates an issue, and then this gap is created where you get into this trap where you end up paying fees, penalties, double taxation, additional taxation, this whole bunch of stuff that happens. I will quickly go through this blind spot so you can see what I am talking about. All right. So this is the advisor blind spot matrix. Essentially, what is happening is that the U.S. immigration attorney is focused on getting you the E2 visa or L1 visa. Their job is not about taxation. Simple. They don't know how this USLC will be taxed on the Canadian side. They don't care. That's not their job, right? They don't know this can lead to double taxation. They have no clue. There are other things that they have no idea about, which is Form 5472 and 5471 on the IRS side. That might cost you, which is this block that we're talking about, $25,000 in penalties. The local accountant, if you go to them, they don't know about the US and Canada tax treaty. They have no idea how to report your Canadian RSP, TFSA, Canadian mutual funds, Canadian ETFs, Canadian RESP, Canadian investments on the US tax. What rates do we apply? It's not that they're misleading you. They have no idea. They don't deal with Canadians on a daily basis, right? Same thing with the local Canadian accountant, focused on the local one, domestic Canadian residents. They're good at GST, HST, T1, T2, all those types of filings, tax planning for a person who's living in Canada, but not for a person who's looking to move, not for a person who's looking to establish in the US. So that creates another problem. They have no understanding how certain things will be reportable and taxable in the United States for Canadian assets. So these are a lot of things that they're missing, which creates this blind spot that leads you to these tax traps. Right, and then today we're talking about Form 5472 and the $25,000 penalty, how that is applicable, and why a lot of accountants don't know about this or they miss them totally. So if you're a owner of a US LLC, you are required to report. You're required to report Form 5472 to the IRS. This is regardless if the business made money or not. As long as you open the LLC, you open a bank account, or even if you don't open a bank account, there's reportable transaction that is happening between you and the LLC. This form is required. A majority, I'm going to say 99% of the Canadians will fall into this category. You open the LLC, you put money into the bank account, even though you have done no transactions other than this. There is no profit, there is no business. 5472 needs to be filed for that LLC. And if you don't file those forms on time, there's a $25,000 penalty. There's a $25,000 penalty for every year you miss that form. And so a lot of US accountants, when you go to them with the LLC, they might treat you as a local US person, a local US resident. For local US person, there is no reporting requirement. There is no 5472. So they might not even be aware of this. They might not even tell you this, right? And so you end up being in a position where you're required to file form, you don't even know. And for example, when you start the E2 or L1 process, and you set up this US LLC, it might take you 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. By the time you set up this company till the time you get your visa, there's a whole year in the middle. And this is, you haven't even moved. No business being established, right? And then when you establish the business, you file the tax return for next year. This is 2 years in the middle where this form was due, and you might end up owing $50,000 in penalties. Think about this. So a lot of US accountants don't know about it. A lot of Canadian accountants don't know about it. US immigration attorneys are focused on getting you the visa. They have no information about it either. So don't miss this form. File the 5472. If you're going to have a disregarded entity, a US LLC owned by 100% Canadian resident, right? This is something that needs to be filed. And if you want to get away from filing this form, change your US LLC to a corporation. There's still the form is required, but it's good. At least it's going to be through a corporation, not on personal taxes. You can deal with it. Even if you get penalized for 1 year, we have ways where you can get the penalty removed. It is one time only, but there is a high possibility that you can. It's not guaranteed. It is a high possibility. So make sure you find an accountant that can help you file this form, that understands how the USC works for a foreign person, not a US tax resident. And make sure that they are filing the form right, complete, and on time, so you don't get hit with the penalties. If you have any questions, shoot us an email, info@keepcp.com. We'll gladly help you. Thank you.